And hello, Michael. It is lovely to have you on our podcast today, and it's great for us to communicate about important issues such as the environment, and for us both together to communicate our concerns. Um, the first question is, what are you most happy about in regards to the government's new climate bill, and what are you most concerned about?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm just going to put on these things because I'll be able to hear you better. Sorry. Now, can you hear me?
Perfectly, yeah.
All good.
Yeah. I just put these on because I was just finding it a bit hard to hear you. Now, first of all, what am I happy with the climate bill? For the first thing is I'm happy that we are having a discussion surrounding climate change, and the fact that every one of us have to do things to improve our own personal situations, the way our local authorities do business, the way we do our business, the way we live, the way we work, and worldwide creating an awareness of what we have to do to protect the future of this planet. That's terribly important. Now, the reason I really appreciate the opportunity to explain to yourselves my position on this, I would hate for young people like yourselves to think that I'm some sort of a climate change denier and that I'm some old-fashioned fogey that thinks that, oh, this is all a load of nonsense. Everybody's raving, everybody's stupid, and I'm the only person that's right in this argument. Like, that is not the case. I appreciate there are things we have to do. But for instance, today, there are things that really, really bother me. I have a shop outside here, right? And in that shop today, we're going to sell hundreds of cartons of milk. Every one of those are inside in a plastic container. That is absolutely outrageous. And I'm only one small little person in a small place. Could you imagine all over Ireland, all over the world, how much plastic we're going to use today? People drinking Coca-Cola, people drinking everything out of plastic. We should have none of that now, none of it. There is no reason. The people that were in this world 50 years ago, they were drinking their milk out of bottles if they were going to a shop to buy their milk. And they were taking back in the bottle, washed a few days later and getting a little bit of a return on it. And like they were more actually environmentally friendly than we are today with all our smartness. Now, so there's very sensible measures that we should be taking, insulating our homes, very sensible, practical things that we should be doing more of, and we're not doing it. For instance, if the government are serious about insulating your home, why are they charging an extraordinary amount of tax on the insulation products and making it more expensive and unaffordable for you to do so? So now there are things that I want to see us doing. That's why I'm glad you were asking me questions this morning about the climate. What do I not like about it? The things I don't like about it is the fact that you're young people. Please God, another couple of years, the time will fly. You're going to be the young married couples of the future, or the parents of the future. You're going to be the homeowners of the future. And I'm terribly worried that what is being proposed today is going to make it virtually impossible for you to live in the way that the people before you lived. In other words, will it be affordable? Will it be possible for you to come and go to work? Because the cars, if they're battery cars and if they're very expensive, and if you won't be able to buy them secondhand, the way you can go away today and buy a car for, 1,500, 2,000 euros, and it'll carry you to work, no problem. You won't be able to do that with the battery car. The houses, will you be able to afford to get on the property ladder? Now, I'm not bringing the housing issue into it, but I'm saying this because some of the measures that are being put in place are really going to be so extraordinarily expensive. I'm worried as to the implications it's going to have in your lives.
Yeah, I completely
Secondly,
agree. I
yes,
completely see
and
where you're coming from, because,
you
but then
see where
I
I'm coming
suppose,
from, and I'm not being
yeah.
unreasonable.
But
And like,
you could argue that these things could get cheaper over time as well. But like, the right systems have to be put in place now to make sure that they're affordable for us in the future.
yes, and within, we'll say, from an agricultural point of view, what they're proposing with regard to farming is totally unsustainable. It's crazy. If you've worked very diligently, if you had fathers or mothers or aunties or uncles or grandparents who were farming, and if they built up their farm and got their farm improved, bought more land, and had built up their stock, And now we're being told that they have a possibility of having to reduce their stock by 51%. That's crazy. Closing Bordnamona was crazy because today, again, I deal with my own practical life's experiences. People need to burn fuel. Now, you could say that in time, that will change because as new houses are built, they will have new modern methods, air to water, all that sort of thing. But if you were in an existing house and if you were using solid fuel, you're not going to be able to change overnight. But today, it's getting very difficult to get bales of briquettes because they're still producing them, but they're using peat that stopped being harvested in June of last year. Don't let anybody mistake you or mislead you about that. So what's the government's answer to it? We're selling briquettes now from Germany. So what about that carbon footprint? We're importing the peat for the horticultural industry, which is very important. We're bringing that into Belfast and we're from abroad. And while we've shut down Bordnamona. So we did away with our own jobs, being goody two shoes, but we're importing these products from abroad. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
So
it's
there
a
are
completely unsustainable solution. Like
yes.
but what alternatives do you propose to that? Because
Okay, the alternatives that I propose is in the first instance, we shouldn't have shut down Bordnamona because we didn't need to. No disrespect to you now or to your age group, but we'll say people like me would have been of the era of going to the bog, cutting turf, cutting timber, using it in a fire, solid fuel, all that. You're different. I'm not talking about you particularly now, but your age group and definitely the next group after you. In other words, your children, they will not necessarily be going to the bog. They necessarily won't be out at the chainsaw cutting timber. So, in other words, governments should have realized this is evolving anyway. We're changing anyway. You don't have to force people to stop because they're stopping in large droves anyway. Because every day when people die, those were the people that would have been of that era. The people that are replacing them are not necessarily so. So can you see the point? That
yeah, I
that,
see the
that
point. But
yes, but
like from my own conversations with our own grandparents as well, like we hear the stories of them going to the bog, cutting the turf. But like I see the argument for closing it down as well because it's such a great way to trap the carbon in the atmosphere, and we could avoid doing a lot of other other very complicated solutions as well because it's more effective than trees apparently. But
mhm.
that's why
but
it's really complicated as well.
but if the government were really serious about trapping carbon, if they were really being serious about protecting our environment, why have we thousands and thousands and thousands of people waiting today to plant trees and they can't get approval? You have to get a license and I mean the before 20 and 30 years ago we were more efficient. The Department of Forestry were way more efficient than they are today. So if this government is so serious about biodiversity, so serious about trapping carbon, why don't they get off their bottoms and for God's sake, process the applications that we have? Farmers who want to plant land, they want to plant them in the different types of forestry. Some of it might be hardwood, some of it might be softwood, but those applications are lodged, waiting. We have people who want to harvest timber, much needed timber that we need. They want to harvest it. They want to thin it to improve their forests. They can't because the department aren't processing the applications. It's tied up in a quagmire of bureaucracy and red tape. And so I hear governments talk out of both sides of their mouth. And if the Green Party, for instance, if they were interested in the environment in the way they'd like for you to think they are, why don't they come along, get off their bottoms and go working this week, go working and ensure that the Department of Forestry be proactive about processing the applications? And that would be doing something practical for the environment instead of standing up in the Dáil making airy-fairy speeches about imposing rules and regulations on you. Don't mind me and my age group, but on you, the youngsters of today, who are going to be the people trying to live in the future. And I very much appreciate the fact that young people came out and on Fridays from their schools and they protested about the environment. That was great. But did you ever in your life hear of people shooting themselves in the foot? Because politicians now are going with what was said. They're going with this movement, we'll call it. but the implications on you, the way it's going to affect you and your lives, that's what I'm worried about. And I really ask people to think about this. And like I say this not as a climate change denier, but as a person who is committed to the protection of the environment, but also the people who want to live in it.
Yeah, I personally think that the bill needs a lot more input and consultation with the actual people of Ireland, particularly in rural areas like Kerry. How do you think you can help the grassroots people of Kerry be included more in the process?
Well, Judith, that's a very sensible question. The first thing that I did maybe about a month ago, I don't know whether you saw it or not, the climate bill was going to be discussed in the Dáil, and I was terrified that people didn't actually know what was going on and that they didn't realize it was coming up. So I did a video and I put it up on Facebook. If you didn't see it, I'd ask you please go to my Facebook page, watch it if you haven't done so already. Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it yet, but I will as
Right.
soon as I get home.
Well, I'd ask you to please, and that was me sort of give you a wake-up call to people. Now, you say you didn't see it, 726,000 people did, and that was a lot of people, and that got out there a lot, that people were aware then that, yes, this is going through the Dáil. And it's important for people to know what is being proposed. And again, I'm saying this from a point of view of a person that wants to work in finding solutions. It's like the plastic. We stopped people of using plastic bags. We could do the exact same with plastic bottles if we just had the gumption to do so.
So I think like what I'm getting from this is that we kind of need a whole education process as well along with the climate bill, because if people don't feel that they can participate in the conversation, we're losing out on so much insight. So I think more education needs to be done not only in secondary schools but in workplaces as well, and everywhere, just so everybody knows exactly what's coming down the line and how they can and how they can contribute to discussions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Judith, I think
sorry,
Judith would make a good politician, sorry.
she would definitely. Going back a small bit to the agricultural issue, 63% of agricultural emissions come from biogenic methane livestock. How would you feel about cutting the livestock numbers and focusing a lot more on growing crops
Okay,
instead?
first of all, I'm totally opposed to a reduction in the national herd, because can I explain to you what will happen? And any person that would go shoving that down your throat and saying, oh, look, we have to do this. Well, you know what will happen then? It'll be the exact same as the bales of briquettes that we're bringing from Germany now. We don't have our own, so we're bringing them from Germany. So if we'll cut back on our production, be it milk, be it beef, I'll tell you what we'll do then. We'll let the people down in South America who are mowing down thousands of acres of trees every day to make way for green pastures, to have cattle on them eating the grass, to have beef that they can export. What will happen is they'll continue doing that, growing grass below in South America and knocking down the Amazon rainforest, to grow grass to feed cattle that will get fat and that they can sell them to us then, because we won't have enough, because we'll be the goody two shoes, reducing our national herd and reducing our amount of livestock. It makes no sense in the world for us to go doing that, to allow the rest of the world proceed and leave us sitting in the doldrums. Then that's not fair. It's not right. Our farmers have worked so hard to build up their farms. I don't want to be a person that's going to come along and go knocking them. That's not right. It's not proper.
um Farmers like definitely have worked so hard, but a lot of them like a lot of farmers, especially small farmers, have been saying in the last few years that they're not getting the right price for their beef that they're
Yes.
selling. So maybe if there was if there was less beef being produced in the country, but there would be a whole like mindset change. Mindsets would need to change about how much we actually need. Then people could still buy Irish beef, but less often, and farmers could get a fairer price for it.
Well, Judith, when we talk about the fairer price, and that's a good subject to bring up as well, uh, we have a situation in Ireland and England actually, where the whole beef trade is very much monopolized and very much governed and controlled to the detriment of the farmers. If you go into a butcher shop and see how much we'll just say, for instance, any type of meat is. It can be beef, it can be lamb. Just look at the price of it. Look at the price the farmer gets. Now, the shopkeeper is not getting an extraordinary amount of money. The farmer is not being paid adequately at all, at all. So the question is, where is the money going? Because there's a savage jump in the value of the animal once they leave the farmyard to when they arrive on your plate for your dinner in the evening. There's a massive jump. Somebody's making money. It's not the shopkeeper, it's not the farmer. So figure it out yourself. And we have that situation in Ireland and in England.
Going back a small bit again to the born pneumonia issue. Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll move on from that actually because we kind of covered it.
We already asked that question already, but how do you envisage how would you like the future of Ireland to be for young people?
Oh, I very much like answering that question. I want it to be a place that you will be happy. The people of your age group and the people coming after you, that you'll be happy, that you'll have employment, that you'll have a housing at an affordable cost, and that you'll be able to live in the environment. This whole thing about trying to stop people, living in rural areas and that you have to live in the local town or you have to live in the local village, that's a load of nonsense. We had millions and millions of people in Ireland in the past, and they didn't destroy the countryside by living in it. You're entitled to live in the country if the opportunity is there for you to do so. And like the rural Ireland is not some sort of a national preserve or reservation for people from the cities and from the towns to come out and drive through and say, well, isn't this a lovely area to look at, and then go way back to their towns and their cities again and leave us devoid of any life. We want vibrant communities. I want small schools. I want small shops. I want post offices in rural areas. I want lights to be on a road at night, not a road with briars growing across it because nobody's driving up and down there every day. I want vibrancy. I want young people. I want children in the countryside. So for your age group, I want you to get the best education you want, be that a lot or be it little. Remember, the world doesn't revolve around education. Some of the best people that ever graced the planet are people who weren't actually educated at all. They self-educated themselves through life's experiences. So while I respect education, I don't consider it mandatory to succeed in life or to have a fulfilling life or to get on good, as you'll call it, because I'd question mark what is good. A person doing any type of a job, be it a very menial job or a very high-flying job, isn't the person doing the menial job, aren't they performing a terrible important function in life as well? So whether you get up in the morning and put on an old trousers or a new shiny trousers, like those roles are equally as important for each man and woman and young person. So what do I want for you? I want for you all to be able to live life to your fullest, get the most out of your own person, and always remember the 0 to 100 factor. From when you're born to if you live to be 100, it's a very, very short limited time. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to work hard. I want you to play hard, and I want you to achieve as much or as little or as middle of the road as you want.
Okay, that's great. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me.
I suppose what needs to be done now, so is just I think especially with the coronavirus pandemic, a lot of people have been able to work from home, so hopefully more people will be able to live in the country because of that and not have to be commuting in and out of it and not having to be living in cities. But I think this pandemic has given people a chance to think about what they need, and hopefully we can have a better, and hopefully this will give us a chance to create a better future for everybody involved.
Okay. Well, very nice to talk to you both, to Hugh and Judith. Yeah. And I hope that this was all right. And anytime you ever want me for anything, give me a call. Watch that video, please, the two of you, and put it up on your own Facebooks. It's on climate action, and I did it there maybe a month ago or something. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you so much.
All the very best. Bye bye.